I'm just doing
Here
just
we
doing what I
go.
do.
Welcome, Mr. Johnny Glock, the Glock man. We got to talk. You done stepped in it, didn't you? You got some controversy going on, but you seem like you like that.
Well, no, I really, you know what, man? Like this has been very stressful for me. I like literally had to have my attorney look at the entire video. Like if you would actually watch a 25-minute video, there's
I
all kind
did.
of yeah. So that was on the suggestion of my attorney because it's like, I'm not going to say it's a David and Goliath thing, but it is. You know what I mean? Like I
Which
have an
one are
800.
you?
I have a. I'm David, bro.
Oh shit.
No,
Okay.
I have an 800 square foot shop. My two boys are my employees. You know what I mean? It's a small outfit. I mean, we crank it out, but it's like, I don't want someone swooping in and taking everything I have for telling the truth. That's the thing, you know. So
Yeah.
that was my trepidation with even releasing it. But then it got to the point where it was like, once we started testing and testing and testing, it got to be almost a morality thing. Like, man, I can't not say something. It's like and now there's other things surfacing, and I'm sure there's more that's going to surface. So, it's not going to look like, hey, Johnny Glock's just poo-pooing the next best trigger, especially when I didn't do it with the Timney. I gave that rave reviews, and the GPT, I gave that rave reviews. So I'm just like, no, there's something going on here. You know what I mean? There's something going on.
Okay. So let's take it from the top for people who aren't following what's going on. There's how new is the Trigger Tech Ace trigger? Because I've been hearing about it. I can't remember for how long though.
I think it was supposed to be, hey, Mike, am I there in the black spot there? Anyway, maybe I should get back here. So,
No, you look
uh,
good, man. You look
I look
good.
good, man. I feel good, man. Um, so I guess it was supposed to be an April release, and then they changed that, and I think it was June 10th that it actually came. I can't even believe we got to. We got them right from Trigger Tech. Mike got on there and was just like, "Hey, man, they're available." I'm like, "Just grab two." Well, all it is the pro curve. I said, "I don't care what curve it is, just get it." Because we just wanted to be able to see, like, we heard such cool things about it. And if you watch the video, you know what I mean? That kind of what it's amazing, man. Like, and I said that in the video, it's amazing technology. It's some really, really, really cool stuff, you know? And I think that's, maybe part of the issue, definitely part of the issue. You take a highly refined, mass-produced piece and you're putting it inside a gun that's it's kind of all over the place. You know what I mean? At least it's within the like. Look at the Glock trigger. You know what I mean? Like it's designed to function on both ends of that spectrum.
Sure.
That's why it's designed that way. When you start shrinking that, when you put a Ferrari engine in a Ford truck or something like that, wheels are falling off. And I think that's kind of a little bit of what we're seeing.
Okay, so let me tell you like what I'm seeing. So I have not used one of these triggers. I have heard a lot. I've heard, I would say very, 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 very positive things from people
Yeah,
that I trust and are knowledgeable. One of my friends has 8 of those things in his guns.
right.
He's very meticulous and he installs things and does all these tests perfectly per the instructions. All right.
Awesome.
And I think we'll circle back around on this. I've seen others, my friends, knowledgeable guys I trust, had one show up in class where if they bang in a Metgar aftermarket magazine, if they bang it into the gun,
Right.
that gun would go off. Seen your video where you hitting with mallet that appears to discharge, and so on. Like so, I'm seeing and hearing very conflicting things and have zero personal experience. So what 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 am I seeing here? Like what the hell is going on?
I think you mentioned it in your video. You alluded to something that might start with certain characteristics, and
Hmm.
then by the time it's used a little bit or a lot, those parameters kind of change. And I'm sure even with Glocks, as things start to heat up with the polymer gun, things can morph and change a little bit. Not by the nth degree, but just enough if you're refining things to that length or to that, you know, minuteness that there can be issues. And I think, like I said, that's like I was not expecting that to happen. I really wasn't. I didn't think that thing was gonna go off. But like, and I know you read the thing about Trigger Tech saying the mallet thing isn't that valid. Like that's the first thing all of us go for. Like even when Recoil picked up our 4311, he's like, I'm going to do the mallet test on. I'm like, yeah, of course I know you're going to do the mallet test. Everyone does the mallet test because if something's going to fail, the mallet's going to do it. That like flushes everything out. So that's kind of like where we've always started because we know it's going to flush out something that we might not have seen or might not have looked at, you know.
Okay. So let's keep going. So what is different about a Trigger Tech trigger as opposed to other systems? I've seen you cut a bit of the frame out during the install process.
No, oh, that's for a Gen 5. Now, the Gen 5s, there's a piece on the Gen 5s. Um, I don't know if you can see. Can you throw a light on this or
No,
can
you
you
can
see?
see it, sort
Okay,
of.
so it's this piece right here.
Uh-huh.
They're going to say it's cosmetic, but Glock really doesn't do too many things. I think it's more or less to keep debris from maybe going in there or something like that. I don't know. Just like this opening back here is designed to let debris out. You
Uh-huh.
understand what I'm saying? So there's probably a reason for that. I know that one of the things Trigger Tech was saying was it is a cosmetic piece, and that's like I don't know if that's. I'll have to call Glock and ask them, hey, is that a cosmetic piece? I haven't had that confirmed yet. It's just interesting when I hear that type of verbiage. Oh, it's cosmetic. We're going to cut it away.
Well, so there's that. I've not heard of people cutting a bit of frame off of a Glock to install a trigger previous to this,
Unless
right?
you're running Glock switches. No, I'm just kidding. I'm
Well,
just kidding.
yeah, sure. Which I
Yeah,
don't,
yeah, I
but
know.
so it's
Yeah.
like, what is different? That's what I'm trying to get to is like, well, what's different about this trigger? Because my experience, like personal observations and my own experience is like there's all these drop-in kits, people drop stuff in Glocks, and maybe they drop in something that doesn't set stuff off.
Right.
Maybe they drop in something that you don't like the feel of. But I've never seen with a Glock and all these modifications, I've never seen it get to the point where it's like, okay, this is unsafe or this is crazy. Not that I
Okay,
go and
so
mallet test everybody's stuff, but I mean, I'm just saying.
they got rid of the connector. So, like when you see that rendering, that they did
Mhm.
that was all the CAD, they got rid of the connector. And so what happens is this part of the transfer, I better get up here. This part of the transfer bar pushes this little thing sticking out back. Okay, wait, it's right there. Okay, so when that gets pushed back, I don't know if you can see the sear on the top, but the sear will drop. Did
Uh-huh.
that happen right there? And then it comes
It
up.
did.
See, it's
Yep.
dropping, coming up. Now, another Achilles heel that I think is
Wait,
happening
wait.
here.
What is that? So can you explain like what is really happening there and why is that bad?
It's not that it's bad. It's not well, here's the one thing like, so this is free falling. So if I would go like this, here, let me do this. If I would go like this and shake it, it's moving around in there. So basically, it's not connected to something that's pulling it down and pushing it back up. You understand? It's almost like something drops out from underneath it. Once this goes like this, it drops out. It's dropping out. It drops out. It drops
Okay.
out. But I think if that was connected to something, it would be a lot. And like I said, this is going to take a minute to circle around to. So this is
Sure.
one of the things that I'm seeing as maybe an issue. The next is if you look at the angle of that sear, which is the back of it. See how the back of it is like a ramp? It's at an angle right there.
Uh-huh.
Okay, a traditional Glock does not have that. A traditional Glock has a 90-degree striker lug face. Hang on a second. So your traditional Glock has the trigger bar. That's 90 degrees right there. That is capturing, I'll turn it this way to make it, that is capturing the striker like that. See how it's a 90 to 90.
Yeah.
So that engagement means something. Okay, so you want this really solid engagement right there when it's 90 to 90 degrees. Now, when you're looking at this system, it has that's an angle. It's not straight. So if I link these two up, you can see how I can pull right across that. Follow what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So that angle right there is it's very susceptible to all the different slide to frame tolerances we see with Glocks. So even once you put a magazine into a Glock, this relationship changes. So that's what I'm thinking. When he slammed the magazine in, the slide lifted up off of the frame, and then the striker went sailing. Not like there was a lot of
Well,
stuff going on with that
well,
gun,
that
but
was a completely Franken gun, and it was only with metal mech guard magazines that the gun would do that particular thing.
exactly, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, so it's not, it's I don't know. You can say it's an anomaly, but you know dang well every Glock boy and their brother is going to want to throw this in. Like the one guy that showed it was unsafe, he was carrying it. You know what I mean? And it's not. And I know they say, and they are advertising it that it's competition only. Timney did the same thing. You know what I mean? It's competition only. Don't put this. It's not for carry. But you and I and everyone else knows that people are going to carry these, and it's a whole different ball game when you're carrying these as opposed to, in my opinion, just doing competitive sports. You know what I mean? It's just there. I think there's I don't know I don't really know how to say it. I think there's like a safety. You know,
A
if
duty
they
of
let's put it
care, you
this way,
might say.
if they say don't carry it, don't carry it. There's a reason that they're saying don't carry it. I would assume, but people are going to carry it. So should you just not make it safe for carry, or should you understand? Like that's
Well, I mean, from where I sit, there was a guy unfortunately killed at a competitive shooting event by a dropped gun
yeah, yeah.
not
That's
too many
shadow,
years
right?
ago. And it's like you're running around with a loaded gun. To me, having the gun be like drop safe or whatever, pass them out, like that is seems like a good thing to me.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. It should be drop safe. You know what I mean? So if I can, okay, so I mean, and I think you saw the one guy that, okay, so we're gonna break it. We're cocked. I can simply smack it off the back of my hand, and it's disengaged.
okay.
Okay, so engaged, break, smack it off the back of my hand hard. It's disengaged. Now, does that mean it went through the breech face? Does that I don't know. I don't have a blank in there, but I did load this into one of the cutaway guns. It's a Glock cutaway gun, so you can see all the internals. And that gave me a lot of intel too as to what's going on. But I think the main one of the main things is that sear angle is not capturing the striker in a traditional way at a 90 to 90-degree angle. Even the Timney, I don't know if I have one around here, but even our 4311, it's all, where's that 48? I just had it out here.
Hmm.
Anyway, it's always like this. It's always 90 to 90, 90 to 90. And now what you're doing is you're doing this. You're putting an angle there, and it's a lot easier for that striker to jump over top of it, especially because if we go back to this, if there's a fall, that and that right there is not, let me see, I'm trying to do this. If that's not connected and it's like a free falling thing,
Yeah.
that could fall. You understand? Now, if it was detented or something, or I don't know, man. It's not my job to fix the trigger. I'm just going on best guess, on what I'm seeing with this technology. Um, we installed it completely, and I have a bunch of guns here. We installed Gen 3, Gen 4, Gen 5. It was just both of them were failing even when we overfitted them. I mean, we went above and beyond what they said you should do to get this to be safe, and it's like I said, and we did the checks to show that it's safe. That's why, and I wasn't doing all those videos to be hating. I was doing it because someone would say, "Oh, you didn't install it right," or "Oh, you
Hmm.
didn't do this." So then I had to go, you know what? All right, I'll show myself installing it just so there can be no question. Or like, hey, how old is that gun? Why didn't you do it out of a gun right out of a box? I mean, there's always going to be someone's always going to say the next
Well, I
greatest.
mean that I have we're gonna get to some comments later, but I've heard that criticism like, well, how old is that gun that Johnny's using and this and that? Um, that
Right.
that has
No.
been a question for
Right. And
sure.
then these are I didn't want to do it with my Koa because I just got it and I don't know if they're going
Yeah,
to
I
be
mean,
down, but you know.
don't do that. Don't do
Yeah.
that. Don't cut
And I
on
actually
your
got it out. I'm like,
filter.
you know what? I'm not, I know what's going on here. Like, I'm not going to go smacking my Koa around because because the internet doesn't believe me or whatever. And it's just like I said, the main thing is I was not expecting that to happen. I think it's an amazing trigger. Like you said, your buddy said it's next level stuff to mine. Yeah, it is. But you know what? I make triggers that are reliable, predictable, and safe. That's my game. You know what I mean? I know you like the Apex with a certain connector. Why? It goes bang every time, and it's got good enough action for you to. I'm assuming
Yeah, I
this,
mean,
but like,
I will say I've not gone down the raced out Glock trigger road trying to chase. If there's stuff that people like the Timney, for example, I don't use those because as soon as they get dirty, they don't want to reset, and I don't want to be sitting there dealing with it, right? And it's
exactly.
just
So
for that reason. It's not for the properties of the trigger.
right. Well, that's the same thing with the Glock performance trigger. Glock has their own maintenance schedule for it. It takes a lot of maintenance. That's what we're seeing. You
Yeah,
know,
I don't like dealing with that stuff. That to me defeats the purpose of a Glock.
exactly. So that's why Johnny Glock's competition triggers, they just work. Okay. And we've had some ups and downs with which
Well,
I
you
know
just got to
the one
Loctite them,
time you
right?
had the pin fall
Yeah, I
out,
mean, my friend came up with I was a little rude, but I mean, yeah, you got to
yeah,
Loctite those. Let me read. So you're familiar with USPSA, I'm sure.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm going to read you from the July 10th. So this is, pretty recent ruling where they said, and this would be a little bit surprising, where they say, hey, you can't use this thing. So a new aftermarket trigger on the market for Glock handguns has generated some questions recently. Right. I was first introduced to Trigger Deck Ace Trigger IPSC Canada Nationals last year. At the
Okay. Hey,
time,
you know
I
what? It
remarked
froze up. So you said, I'm going to read this from,
from USPSA. So this is the
okay.
official ruling,
Okay.
right? Here we go. Well, I'll just skip to the actual ruling. There are many other aftermarket replacement triggers that do include the trigger safety lever, and all of those are legal replacements per USPSA. However, the trigger safety on Glock handguns is considered the primary safety. It's external and can be tested for function. The Trigger Tech Ace does not replicate this feature, shrouds the trigger with another trigger, in essence, and defeats the primary safety function of the lever safety. Therefore, it's not legal as a replacement trigger in any USPSA or a Steel Challenge division. Um, an evaluation sample they got was sent to them for testing. It was installed per the manufacturer's directions on a Glock handgun and tested by the USPSA board to several instructors. The unanimous consensus was that this trigger disables the Glock safety lever and is not legal. Okay, so just on the basis of not having an external trigger safety dingus, I like to call it, they
Right.
say it's not legal. Well, what do you think about that? And because this kind of dovetails with, I mean, I'm sure you've seen all the 320 talk as well, and those triggers don't have the safety dingus. Can you talk about the safety tab? Because Trigger Tech is releasing one that does have that tab. Hopefully, I'm going to get
Right.
one. What
Right.
do you, does that matter? Like, what's your read on that part of it?
It absolutely matters because that's your first inertial safety. If that safety goes, everything behind it goes. And that's what people don't understand. They're like, well, the firing pin block is going to stop it. It won't. It won't. Once that starts moving, and I can show you, inside this gun, once that trigger starts moving and you can see this thing called the vertical extension pushing that up, once that goes back, that disengages it. Now, I thought since this new tech looked so interesting, they have actually separated out. They've separated out the what would be called the vertical extension because from what I heard, they were doing it to reduce drag, um, which I don't think is negligible. I don't think it's that much of a penalty for drag, but there's the bar right there. So you can see how this vertical extension, that's people call the shark spin. It's actually separated from the actual transfer bar itself. Whereas in a Glock, it's one solid piece. Okay. So in a
Oh,
Glock, if that trigger goes, this whole thing's moving back as one piece, and so it's going to defeat all the safeties. That's your primary safety. So what I had assumed was maybe they did something cool with this. So if this does go back, that's not going to engage. It's not going to go up. So I'm like, oh, cool. So even when I dropped it, I was like, oh, okay, well, it obviously I'm thinking with all this coolness going on that there might have been something some kind of redundancy or something that they put into it. But as we found out, there isn't, you know what I mean? And I'll do another thing here to show you. These cutaway guns are very, very useful. So yeah, I'm not trying to drop my cutaway gun either because you can't, they're really hard to find. So um just get this together. So if we actually look at the safety dingus like we're talking about, you can see here it is well in front of the opening where it's supposed to be. Okay, so it is, as far as their instructions concerned, that needs to be in front of the opening of the frame right here. But what I'm seeing with this is even though it's in front of that opening, it just slips right by. See what it's doing? It slips right by. But that's they're saying that's part of the safety. Like this is the safety right here. If this is the safety right here, then the 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 function check is you pull up on this right there, and if that doesn't move, if it doesn't make this bar move, if the bar is locked out, see how the bar does not move? It's locked out.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
locked out. It's locked out. It's not, well, it moved a little bit there. Let me see.
Oh.
I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it from this angle. Okay, yeah. It's that's interesting right there. It's not wanting to lock out. Yeah, it's locking out, but it's not move. Okay, if it doesn't lock out, you see the striker in the back there, that thing we talked about that drops that little triangle. See how it's
Yes.
dropping? It's dropping. Are you verifying that? Can you see how it drops? It's this little piece up here that's dropping when the trigger goes
Yep,
back.
I see it.
Okay, so if I do that here and I lift up on that and it's not dropping, see how it's holding? And you can see me
Yes.
prying up on that. Okay, so that bar is being locked. It's locked. This is a verified from their, you know, these instructions that I've followed. It's verified that that is doing its job. And there's a couple other things they want you to do. They want you to test the firing pin safety. So they want you to push this down and make sure this moves around. Like they want you to go like in a Glock, you know what I mean? So it like how we know that it does that. That's moving. It's supposed to move like that. When the safety's on, it won't move. Okay, that's one thing they want you to do. Then they want you to really push down hard on the safety, and it's not going to, push through the breech face unless you push this down. So they give about a bunch of steps process of what to do, but even by following these, and the most bizarre thing is too, like so here's the safety they're talking about. See that right there? That's
Uh-huh.
the safety lever. But in this picture, they're saying to take some of it off if it feels sticky when resetting. And so I think when they say reset, they're not talking about the traditional way we think of reset. They mean the lever resetting. So there's a little,
Oh. Wait, they say to take a little off of that safety lever?
yeah. So they say if you can't get this to happen, if you're not seeing the middle picture where the trigger safety is in front of the frame, it's outside of the frame. Whereas, like on a traditional Glock, that would mean see the safety sticking out there. That would mean it would look like this. It would be back underneath there. Are you following me?
Yeah.
But if it's out, it's safe. If it's in, it's not safe. Out, safe because it's going to catch. In, it's not going to save catch. So what they're saying, and this is what I understand, if that doesn't happen, then you have to fit it. You have to take some material off the top of this, which is this little tab that's on the trigger itself. And then what that does when that's alleviated, it allows the trigger to rotate forward just a little bit. But if you're just taking a like a dot, like if you take a point and you're just rotating like this, it's taking the same arc. It's not going to elongate the arc. So basically, it's not going to put it in any better of a position if you let it roll forward some. And then they're saying if it sticks, then take some of it off. So I just don't. It's confounding. It really is. You know. And so we're nerding out here, okay?
Well, no, I'm hearing all this and it's like, oh, this makes me nervous about I'm gonna need to find somebody to install these things. This makes I'm just hearing this like, uh, uh, okay.
Yes, and then once you get it to fit, then you follow all these steps. You know what I mean? And we followed all those steps on all these guns.
Well, that was gonna be my question from my friend with eight of them is just like, what did you, okay, what about the springs? Did they call for particular like safety plunger springs and
No, here's the deal. If it's all okay, does he run all Glock springs?
my guy?
Yeah.
He's a maniac. He's a bigger nerd than you. So
Okay. So
his stuff, he will set it up precisely to the directions. Yeah.
okay. So if you are using all OEM springs, then it's less likely to go off.
Why do you
Once
say that?
because the OEM springs are a lot stouter than their springs. So
Okay.
we're not going to say the striker spring really doesn't matter because the striker spring is about the impact on the primer. So if you lighten that, you might even have a better chance of having like a light strike on the primer. But if you have an OEM, you have an OEM striker spring, which is 5.5 pounds, and you start messing with this spring pack that they give you, the biggest failure rate we found right out of the box is using their firing pin safety spring. Their firing pin safety spring with an OEM firing pin, even with OEM parts, is a perfect storm from what we've found.
Yeah. Okay. All right. How much do you think having a trigger safety would change like the inertial, like the mallet test is based, it's just an inertial test, right?
Yeah, but that's what the did you find that 4311? That's what the primary safety is.
Right.
You know,
No, I
I mean
so one
that's what all the safeties are. They're
I
all
did.
inertial safeties.
All right, I'll repeat something I heard from a guy. It's funny because he works at SIG, and he
Okay.
was saying like, "Hey, all these other striker fired guns, the reason they can't pass any of these tests either if you take away the trigger safety, like the safety dingus."
Right. Well, what Swig tried to do, I don't want to
So,
take
but
this
you see
gangster
why that'd
guy.
be funny to say, like a guy working at SIG saying that basically, like, well, these guys can't, if they didn't have that trigger safety, their shit wouldn't pass this stuff either,
Okay,
is
so
what he said.
you see
So,
here's the pivot point that is the trigger pin. All this weight hanging down here is what goes backwards when
yes.
inertia hits it. Okay,
Hmm.
with the 6P320, what the 320 did, they put a lot of weight on the top of it, so they were trying to balance that out. So
Okay.
it would defeat the inertia because you have balanced weight. That's really what they were trying to do from what I've seen. But with this having nothing above it, that's pure inertia that's pushing that thing
All
back.
right. So, how do you think this would go if a trigger safety tab was added to this?
If a well, I think the performance. Okay, so let's do this. This trigger breaks very okay. So there's your wall. It breaks very far forward. You see
Hmm.
that? It's
Yeah,
really out there.
that
Whereas
is.
like a traditional Glock trigger, I don't have any right here, but like just say one of these
Oh,
triggers,
you're saying there's not enough travel to add it. Is
they
that what you're
break
saying?
further. No, there is. All I'm going to say is they are. I I think it's going to have to lose some performance. You know what I mean? Because that amount you need this parameter in order for that safety to work and to catch. Because when I showed you that arc that was turning, if they made this because this is one solid thing and it's not something that's moving freely like the dingus, that's your safety right there because that's one solid thing. If they just made that longer, it's not going to be able to, you're not even be able to pull the trigger. So, I mean, I mean, they're smart dudes. I mean, look at it's a very intelligent. You know what it is? It's like precision rifle guys building Glock triggers. You know what I mean? So,
Well, I was going to bring that up because there's some precision rifle setups that if you like set the over travel wrong or whatever, you can have a pretty bad outcome.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's what I mentioned in my video. Like, there's only 275,000 and someone got mad that I said that I was ripping on Canadians. I'm like, I'm just looking at facts. Like, there's a million Glocks in Canada. 275,000 are owned by private citizens. I know they probably have U.S. Trigger Tech would have to have some US stuff
Wait,
going
people would
on.
be mad that you're ripping on Canadians?
Yeah, really. Well,
I'm
that was one.
actually in Canada at the moment. I find it very fun to rip on Canadians, and they
Well, you
seem
know
to
what?
enjoy it too.
That's one of the things my attorney said, take that out. Because when I look at my son and he goes like this,
No,
you
talking
know,
shit about Canadians is like a national pastime.
yeah,
It's good
exactly,
times.
man. Come on. So anyway, but still, I'm not rolling dice. But yeah, if they find if they find a, I was thinking of the South Park episodes.
Yeah.
If they if they can create a safety that actually stops it from moving backwards, then yeah, absolutely, it'll be safe. But what I did see is they put it up for like an hour, and it was like they sent it to a buddy of mine, and it was them with that new safety, and they were coming down on that gun like a bat out of hell with a hammer. You know what I mean? They were using a mallet, but what they were doing is they were going like this. They were coming down like this, and that's not going to do anything. So it's not going to do anything for that. So if you're coming down like this, what
Yeah.
that's going to do, it's going to trip that. Remember how I said that the way that free falls?
Yeah.
That's what it's going to do. It's going to free fall that, but it's not going to mess with this trigger actually going backwards.
As the SIG guys would say, it's not going to actuate the trigger.
Right, exactly. It's not
That's
going
the
to
word they would
actuate.
use. It's going to actuate it. Okay, what do you make of the variation in outcomes here? Because like I said, I'm hearing very mixed shit about this trigger. Some people, I've read some guys saying like, "Yep, my gun is behaving the same as Johnny's." Like I said, I got other guys trying them, like cannot replicate what's going on. You clearly saw the Franken gun. What do you make of the variation in the
Well,
outcome
that's
here?
the problem. Once you sort of deviate from like a stock Glock, that's where we saw them just the failure consistency increased exponentially. So say you add like one of my strikers that we take off the nickel copper and we hone it and stone it, and it's at like 0.25 micrometer. It's a slick, super slick surface. And then you have a firing pin safety that's domed. You understand what I'm saying? Like all these parts with like a lighter spring, people cut those. And then there's all this. I mean, come on, people mess with Glocks. They're like, it's like having a Mustang or like a, it's just
My Mustang is stock, sir. I'm not one of
it
those
is.
people.
I wish
Yeah.
I have
It
a
is. I haven't changed anything, and I actually called to buy one a couple years ago, and the guy was telling me, "Oh yeah, it's uprated on horsepower or whatever." I'm like, "No," I just like hung up the phone. Don't buy a modified car.
So I have a Ford Excursion, a 2001 with that 7.3 diesel, and
Yeah,
I made the mistake of chipping it out, and
yeah.
it's been a nightmare for a year and a half. It'll work like a bat out of hell for like 2 months, and I'll be like, yes, and all of a sudden I'll be like, oh God. Yeah, I was just in the shop again last week. So yeah, I get it. So when you start modifying stuff, that's when you're really going to run into problems. That's what I really see. I've seen them, like I said, it's very I didn't have to work really to get it to go off with the Glock parts that were all OEM straight out of the bins, but it became a lot easier once we started adding these, what you would call performance parts to it,
All
because
right.
there's, yeah.
Yeah. What would you recommend people do, like if they own this or they're looking at getting it? I mean, like apart from whatever, like buy a Johnny Glock. No, I mean, but I assume you sell plenty of triggers either way, as do a lot of people. Like, what would like seriously, like if somebody owns one of these and they've already installed it, what would you recommend they do?
That's kind of hard because that's a question my lawyer would say, do not answer.
Really? You wouldn't?
Well, you know
I
what I
mean,
would say? I would say just test it, do your due. That's what my channel is about. Like my channel is not about like it's not Lenny McGill saying, "Hey, check out the Glock 26." Now what we did was this and I'm not
oh
I'm
man,
yeah. So listen,
Lenny McGill, living legend right
he
there.
is. He is. And that's what I tell everyone. You rip on Lenny McGill, the civilian Glock industry would not be it was without that gentleman, but at the same time, you know it. That he's selling his stuff. That's his YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll show people how to do stuff, but like I said, overwhelmingly, the majority of my channel is about safety and education. And so that's even with my stuff.
Well,
Like I said,
listen, my channel's about drama and nonsense, so I'm trying to get you to say some shit that'll
uh,
make your lawyer have a heart attack. And you know what I mean? That's what I'm about. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
well, look, I get it, man. I get it. And at the same time, like I even said on my channel, there was a guy that shot himself with one of my triggers. Apex, your beloved company, they had a
Are they
recall. They had a recall for
my beloved?
I
I
know.
think Apex generally makes nice stuff for a
Okay.
variety of platforms, and it's easy to recommend.
I think they make what they should. You know what I mean? Stuff that's predictable and reliable and safe and consistent and all that stuff. That's why everyone has a Glock. They want it to go bang every time. They don't want to. Well, some guys are like you said, the nerds that are. I learned a long time ago, like I needed to make a standardized trigger that's just standard. And my business is mostly combat defensive triggers
It's
anyway.
the drop-in stuff that a guy like me is not nervous about installing.
Exactly. You put it
Remember
in.
the Loctite on the fucking screw, got it, install the shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And mine,
okay.
like I said, we switched to coil pins now because we were having problems with, priming it and then doing a certain type of Loctite. We talked to Rockset, we talked to Hinkle, we talked to Vibratite. We couldn't get them to hold. And so it became like it was awful. You know what I mean? If I get one more of the email that, hey, I lost my pin, we had to hire someone specifically to handle those, hey, my screw backed out. And exactly what I
Well,
earned
you
the job.
solved the problem, it sounds like, so
Yeah.
much like that's appreciated.
And that's how I
Um,
earned the
yeah.
Johnny Cox
Well,
nickname.
that guy was raised in the UK, so it's he's a little more cheeky about it. But
You didn't read my
yeah,
comment. You probably didn't read my comment that I left.
I
Uh,
mean, I maybe probably missed it. If it was
no, I said,
funny,
I said,
eh,
look, I'll excuse you I'll excuse you and uh, but and not give you the bend over instead of
oh,
bend.
bend over. Oh, look,
Okay.
man, it was Ben Gay when people didn't like me when I went through school, when you could still attack people in that way. So that wouldn't bug me a whole lot. Bend over would be maybe an upgrade.
Well, my last name is really Schmidt, so jack shit, I got
It's
that all the
not
time.
as, I mean, that's not as
Maybe we
much
should come
fun.
out with a trigger, the SS trigger, Schmidt Stoger. Come on.
I mean, the marketing possibilities be like, yeah, we've tried it. This is the fourth iteration of the SS
Yeah.
trigger, and you guys can go try it. It'd be a
Yeah.
lot of fun for people. It'd be the
Yeah.
double entendres. Okay. Um, let's see what else we've got. If there's any interest, people are very excited you're coming on the channel. I mean,
It's
I could
just
just read you some stuff to glaze you. I mean, if
no,
I
I
think
don't
it'd
care.
feel
I
good.
read it all. I read it all already. You know what I mean? But the main thing is like it's about safety and like I'm and like guess you said timber's good in my book. And I guess I don't know what you're referring to, but when a company steps up and does the
Yeah,
right thing, even if there's a problem, then
yeah,
if you do the right thing, hey,
yeah. You know what? And I'm interested in talking with them, and I think people are very interested in these triggers. We're interested in seeing them with the safety dingus. I'm interested to learn more, and I think as the comments come and more people are looking at this, we're going to learn a lot more.
yeah, and I think that's it. Like, but the main
That's
thing is,
it.
like you said, is you got to stay vigilant with your stuff. And it's like,
Mhm.
check it every time. Guys, I
Yep.
mean, the last three videos I had, like I said, oh my God.
I hate